talk about the origin of that verse. But first, when we say go the extra mile, we think of maybe an Olympic athlete, or maybe Carol at work who stays late, or our student who did extra credit. You know, right? I mean, can you think of any other examples of somebody who goes the extra mile? Maybe a lady at church who's just always bringing food to people. You know, she's always doing a little bit extra, right? Okay, so Matthew is a book in the Bible written about between 70 and 90 AD. In about 60 AD, the Romans destroyed the Hebrew temple, the Jewish temple, and killed thousands and thousands of Jewish people. And so Matthew was writing to the people who were left over after the Jewish people had been through this terrible ordeal, about 20 years after. So people who were alive, their families had been killed by the Romans. The Romans were not appreciated by the Hebrew people. So back then, there was a law that, you know, the Romans built all these roads. That was one of the big things that they were great at. They built these roads, and all of the roads had mile markers. And so you would see, just like we have now, mile markers. And so what would happen is a Roman soldier could go up to anybody on the road, especially a Jewish person who was a lowly person, and he would say, you must carry all my stuff. And you would have to carry it, but the law was you only had to carry it 1 mile. And so the Jewish people would take the guy's stuff resentfully, and he would carry it the 1 mile, and then he would just drop it on the ground. And that was the law. And if you were obedient to the law, no problem. So when Matthew was writing this, that Jesus said, if somebody asked you to go 1 mile, go with him 2, he was writing to the Jewish people who knew this law. He knew that they would have been people who had carried these Roman soldiers' stuff. And he knew that telling them, go carry this stuff 1 more mile, was horrible. Like, why would you do this? These are terrible people who've murdered my family, who've killed all these people, who've done these terrible things. Why would I want to carry this? So you have to look back and you have to say, why did Matthew think this was important to tell these people? What was he really saying? And so what he was really saying was, when you carry something for someone that mile, when you're carrying that Roman soldier stuff that mile, instead of being resentful, instead of holding a grudge, instead of thinking about all the terrible things that the Romans have done to your family and your friends, why don't you think about, this soldier has left his family. He's going off to war. He may never see his family again. He's been carrying this heavy stuff because that's his job. It's a hard life to be a Roman soldier. So what if you turned to that soldier and you said, you know what, brother? That is hard. I understand that you're having a hard time. I'm just going for a walk. I can carry that for you an extra mile. I can take your burden off of you a little bit. And you love that enemy of yours. So when these people heard this, they weren't hearing, do extra work, do a little bit more, make people more impressed with you. What they were hearing was, even the person that you can despise the most, even something that's within the bounds of the law, you can turn against that. You can say, you know what? I have compassion on you. I can be bigger than this whole system that's been set up by the people outside of us. So do that thing. Do that thing that's really hard. So we can say, hey, go do an extra practice for soccer, little girl, my daughter. You know, you can say, do a little bit of extra work at work. But you can also question, have I loved somebody who needed it? Maybe somebody that I didn't want to love. Have I had compassion for somebody that didn't seem to deserve it? Did I take the time to think about where somebody else is coming from and care for them? And if I do something more for someone, is it someone who doesn't even deserve it in my eyes? Is that the kind of person I want to be? Can I be that great? Thank you.